Here's a quick review so you guys don't waste your time just watching other videos. So gameplay, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Plot, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. And visuals, I give it an 8 out of 10. I'll talk more about the mechanics and everything else in a bit. There's your ratings right now. So let me explain. The gameplay. I'm not playing with you. It was not the best. It really wasn't. It was not like Elden Ring or any other high-end game that I've played recently. It wasn't up there with them, but it was good enough. I wouldn't give it a great rating because the gameplay, it was at times it was iffy. It was really iffy, and it seemed like it just didn't seem right sometimes. It seemed buggy. It seemed like they didn't polish it enough. They didn't take more time. They try to go for speed, but there were so many bugs and like interruptions while you're playing that it kind of interrupted the immersion or like the gameplay or like the fun you have, and it does like affect it. And yes, in this game it is very heavy in affecting the Jedi experience of you being a Jedi. That's what I gotta say about the gameplay. It was fun. It was definitely fun. It was definitely worth the money. I want to pay $20 for it. But it was definitely worth the money. The parkour in this game, I am not a fan of the parkour in this game. It is really not my type of thing, because 75% of the game is you doing parkour, you running around the map, you jumping onto areas, and you climbing. That's pretty much like 70 to like 60% of the game, and the other 40% is you fighting or it's a cutscene. I did not like the parkour in this game. It just seemed like filler. It seemed a way to like prolong the game, the gameplay of how long you're gonna play the game, like in an artificial way. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but that's how I saw it as. It was just so much climbing, so much going to different places that it extended the game so much, and sometimes you get lost. So it fitted, but it wasn't properly done. It was just too much of it. The lightsaber combat, it was very satisfying. Mostly when you're able to parry attacks and then immediately like fire back and immediately cut them down. I understand that they had to like cut back on the Jedi, not the Jedi, the lightsaber being in like a one-hit kill, because that'd be a pretty boring game if every single thing you fight is a one-hit kill. I'm sure they could have made it work, but they didn't. So they made it so enemies had to get hit multiple times so they even die. I understand that, but the thing I had a very like frustrating time with was the blocking, because you could parry it, but sometimes all the time when you unblock, there's a tiny half second where you're still able to get hit. Even though you put your block back up, you can still get hit in between that like half second, which caused a lot of problems for me when I was playing. I'm pretty sure it's a mechanic thing. Is just me not getting used to it. The plot. So in this game, you are a guy known as Cal Kestis. You are a Jedi on the run, but you did the smart thing. Instead of going on the run, you stayed in one place and disguised yourself as a normal citizen. As you're just some guy in the scrapyard along with everybody else, all the other filth. And guess what? Because he's a Jedi, he gets found out and people come looking for him, the Inquisitors. So because you have to run, you meet up with a couple other people and you team up. You guys team up and you go to a Jedi archives and you find an artifact that will help restore the Jedi Order. You are now on a mission throughout the galaxy to find the keys to open up this Jedi archive to be able to restore the Jedi Order. And that is the whole plot of the game. From the beginning, you know what you have to do. You have to open this archive to get the thing to bring back the Jedi Order. But to me, it seems like there's too much. It just seemed more like a fetch quest. Really, it did. Because when you go to the archives, it says you have to go get something from from ancient civilization's ruins and go get something from over there. And then from there, you go to another planet and you go to another ruins to grab something else. And then you go to another planet to grab something else to finally open the archives. And it just seemed like a fetch quest. Like you had to go over here just to grab this one item to be able to open up a vault. It didn't seem that intriguing to me, but it was intriguing that it was in the Star Wars universe. Jedi. You didn't hear about it, but like people were trying to like bring back the Jedi orders and things like that. But it wasn't. I don't believe it was properly done right. The visuals in this game, I have to say, they are amazing when you're up close. The stormtroopers, I loved how they looked. The other variants between them, the stormtrooper commanders, the purge troopers, I loved how they looked. The only thing that I had a little bit of an issue with was the distance. When you look out into the distance into like just the background of the planet, some parts it doesn't look like they put too much effort into it. Even though you're in like a small area where you could look around and you could see the entire like the landscape of the planet. You could go to a desert planet, a snow planet, and you can look into the distance, and sometimes it looks beautiful, but other times it looks like some areas they didn't do enough effort into it, and it looks just kind of just not good. I don't know how to like make it sound right. It just doesn't look like they put enough effort into it. But the game looked beautiful throughout the game. It was almost perfect the whole game. And the issues that I had with this game, I had a lot of issues with this game. My first issue was it was buggy as hell. There was so many times that actions interfered with each other. He started glitching out. There was once that my lightsaber just literally just fucking disappeared as I was blocking. To me, at that one moment, it was one of my first times like seeing a big bug. But I laughed it off, thinking it was only gonna be once. It was only once. Actually, no, it was like 2 times. But who cares? What else is there? Oh, it was not polished enough. I felt like they rushed this game a lot. I feel like they try to get out as fast as possible without polishing up the most of the character's actions, because sometimes his actions would interfere with each other. He'd be hanging from something and he'd heal himself, and it'd look horrible. It looked very, very like strange. And the more I played, the more it seemed like they didn't put enough, not even enough effort. I feel like they were rushed too much, and that affected the game's quality and the gameplay and other things, and the parkour. That I actually had a really big issue with the parkour. Most of the game is you doing a parkour. There's a couple puzzles, and I count like 7 puzzles inside the game. Like hard puzzles, but everything else is parkour and is some fighting. The fighting is actually pretty rare in this game, even though like I feel like it should be a lot more. There should have been a lot more enemies. But the parkour, I had an absolute issue with it. Sometimes he wouldn't grab it. Sometimes it just wasn't as fluent as the rest of the game was. Oh, and then my absolute biggest issue. Wait, before I even talk about my biggest issue, the enemies. The enemies in this game, I liked them. They were good. They had openings like any other enemy would, so you could actually beat them. But the enemies in this game, they had an aggro radius. I don't know how to explain it, but in certain areas, in certain parts of the building, the enemies are only allowed to stay in this one area of the building. They can't like follow you throughout the whole entire facility, because you could aggro them. But if you leave that aggro space, they stop chasing, which I have a little bit of issue with it, because it kind of makes it it makes it seem fake, because you're a Jedi, you walk into a facility, you run out, and they just don't care anymore. I'm like, why would they have that? But and now my biggest issue, the fucking camera. So in any typical like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and all those games, all of them have an issue with the camera. But this game, wow, it was bad. This is one of like the one times wow. So okay, so sometimes if you're in a narrow passage and you're fighting against a couple enemies, sometimes you do a finishing move and it spin the camera all around and it'll go through the walls, and you'll beat the enemy, but now that your camera's like a completely different position, and now like you don't really like, it just fucks with your view, because you're in a narrow place, the camera either goes through the wall or it gets really close to you, and you don't see things like you would normally, and it kind of fucks with your perception, and it fucks with your next actions you're gonna make. And most of the time you run away or you just die, because the camera fucked with you. And the camera wouldn't get stuck, it would just get like behind like shrubbery or roots or like pieces of the building. It happened throughout the whole game. It was just when you're fighting. It would happen through the whole game. When you're doing parkour, it hit like some of the things around you, and it push into you. It go back. It get clipped into some things, and it was just awful, almost throughout the whole entire game. The way I think they could improve on it is make the passages or the area bigger, so you don't have so many times where the camera gets stuck inside a wall, or just a lot of other different things. That's just the one way to improve it, but it'd be better if they did. Well, that's the end of this review. I had a great time playing the game. I did have a couple issues. I did get angry sometimes at some things, but it was a good game. I wouldn't recommend it as an amazing game where I would demand you to play it, but it was a good enough game. Something that is worth your money. Okay, that's the end of this review. If you did watch it and if you have some critiques of it, go ahead and tell me. I need to get better at this shit. I'll see you guys later. Bye.